Welcome to Key Tech. Please describe this channel if you are interested in today's video. According to Indian media reports, India requires mobile phone brands such as OPPO, Vivo, and Xiaomi to do three things well in the Indian market. The first is to hire Indians as the company's core management, the second is to use local dealers, and the third is to cooperate with Indian manufacturers throughout the industry chain. Otherwise, they will not want to resolve the conflicts with India. No matter which one of these three things is involved, it means that the Chinese mobile phone brand has the right to speak. The first is obvious, and the second and third, starting from the dealers and cooperation partners. As long as there is any problem, their mobile phone market in India may be impacted. However, this is still a small matter. The bigger thing is that many people in the industry believe that if they cooperate with Indian manufacturers, they are giving up their core technology. So looking at it this way, India's ambition is not small. And this time the pressure is not limited to one Chinese company, but all Chinese mobile phone brands in the Indian market have not escaped. Some people will say at this time, can't Chinese companies fight back? This clear threat has even reached the point where China, instead of helping others build supply chains, has handed over more supply links to others, turning itself into an empty shell. Don't they plan to fight back? It's a pity that it's not that they don't plan to fight back, but that they can't fight back at all, except for one thing: evacuate directly. Why do you say that they can't fight back? It's not to pour cold water on them. From a practical point of view, the first thing they fear is losing their share of the Indian market. You must know that Chinese mobile phone brands occupy a large share of the Indian market. Although there is a vague trend of being overtaken by Apple and Samsung, among overseas markets, the Indian market is still an important market for them. Without this market, it will be more difficult for them to compete with Samsung, Apple and Huawei in global competition. In fact, in the final analysis, the comprehensive strength is not strong enough. If they have huge advantages like Apple, Samsung and Huawei, and when most of the core technologies are controlled by themselves, they will not be afraid of losing the Indian market at all, because they will not be afraid of losing the Indian market in other markets around the world. There is room for more development. But the current situation is obvious: they can't afford to gamble, which is why India insists on catching a few of them for exploitation. There is also the supply chain. Many people in the industry say this. Chinese companies are aggressively selling in the Indian market, and the supply chain has been built for India. The complete infrastructure is cheap and will be added later. Samsung, Apple and other companies have entered the Indian market. At this time, the early investment has caused these companies heartache. Who is willing to hand over the complete supply chain to others at this time? What's more, you will lose your future market. Obviously, they are unwilling or hesitant. They are attacking from both front and back. It is neither possible for them to advance nor to retreat. If they really retreat, life will probably be difficult. I have to say that India is very precise, because they are unlikely to withdraw from the Indian market anyway, so even if there is an ultimatum, they will not make other moves in order to preserve the Indian market. Of course, this is the company's own strategy. As a Chinese layman who has not been in their position, it is really difficult to evaluate it. However, investment in India needs to be cautious. This should be a recognized fact. I hope this incident can sound a wake-up call to more Chinese companies. For Chinese technology companies, if they agree to these three things with the Indian government, doesn't that mean they are giving their companies to Indians? In a few years, Indians will understand everything, and then Chinese companies will be able to leave with some profits at most. Friends who see this may ask, since India's requirements are so harsh, wouldn't it be enough if Chinese companies simply withdraw from the Indian market or invest in other markets? This is a solution that can solve the problem, but it is not applicable yet. Why? Because companies like Xiaomi and OPPO have invested a lot of money in India, it's hard to say whether they have made back their costs yet. Chinese mobile phone brands already account for nearly 60% of the smartphone market share in India. Among the top 5, Xiaomi, Vivo, Xiaomi and OPPO took 4 seats. In other words, Chinese mobile phones have already made a name for themselves in the Indian market, and currently there is no country that can replace the Indian market. Many netizens think that India is really drifting, and India is indeed drifting, because India's purpose is to learn from China's experience so that they can industrialize. China has achieved remarkable economic development in the past few decades and successfully transformed from an agricultural country to an industrial power. In this process, China has accumulated a large amount of development experience and practice, including infrastructure construction, manufacturing development, export-oriented growth, and technological innovation. As a country with a huge population and market, India naturally hopes to learn from China's successful experience to achieve its own industrialization and modernization goals. What we need to understand is that India has a population of over 1.4 billion and is currently the most populous country in the world. Its population structure shows the characteristics of younger people. This young population structure provides India with a large number of labor resources. So India also needs a lot of jobs. But India is not targeting Chinese companies. Companies like the United States and Japan have also been played by the Indian government. American companies such as Ford, Harley-Davidson, Wistron Group, IBM, Telecom Vodafone, etc. have all been deeply involved in India for many years, and they have also suffered many unfair treatments. The last thing Mr. Chun wants to say is that India has accumulated its current foreign exchange reserves since it abandoned the path of industrialization in 1991 and switched to the service outsourcing route. Yesterday, it was reported that 4 European countries will invest $100 billion in India, which fully illustrates a problem. That is, India now wants to use European and American funds to realize their industrialization. What do you think of this matter? Welcome to leave comments, like and share this.